Housing is no longer just unaffordable, it's becoming something more dangerous. A country where people can't move. They can't afford to buy their first home. They can't afford to leave the low mortgage rate on the home that they already own. And many renters can't even afford to move into another rental. Harvard just released its 2026 State of the Nation's Housing Report, and the message goes much deeper than high prices. I'm Tristan Ahumada. This is Your Daily Real Estate. It's a podcast and a show if you want real estate news explained without hype, and obviously real estate information for real estate agents and the consumer so that you guys can just feel better all around, do better, and live a better real estate life. And this is the channel for you. Please send it to somebody you think may need this and subscribe. Now, by the end of this, you'll understand why the housing market isn't crashing and why it's kind of freezing. You'll also see why waiting for mortgage rates to fall may not fix the real problem. Let's start with home sales. Existing home sales are sitting roughly at around 4.1 million a year. That's near a 30-year low. This isn't happening because nobody wants a home. In fact, a lot of people who want to buy a home, who want to move. It's happening because millions of people can't make the numbers work. At the end of 2025, the median existing single-family home cost about $409,000. With a small down payment, the mortgage alone was roughly $2,420 a month. But that's not the real payment. It'd be nice if that was it. Once Harvard added estimated property taxes, insurance, and mortgage insurance if it applied, that total reached about $3,120. That's almost $1,000 more. That's a month. And to afford that, using normal lending standards, a household would need to earn about $120,800 a year. Now you start seeing why households need two incomes to qualify, where before it was just you could buy a house with one income. 5 years earlier, the income needed was around $68,700. Think about that. In only 5 years, the income needed to afford a typical home jumped by more than $50,000. Only about 1/3 of all households earn enough to meet that new number. Among renters, it's only 16%. And this is where the market begins to split into two. People who already own homes have gained enormous wealth through COVID. Homeowners held about $34 trillion in total equity at the end of 2025. The average homeowner had roughly $295,000 in equity. About 40% of owners don't even have a mortgage. And among those who do, half at a rate below 4%. Now, compare them with someone trying to buy today. They face a higher price, a mortgage rate above 6%, heading into 7%, rising insurance for sure, rising taxes, and thousands of dollars needed up front. So this isn't one housing market anymore. It's two completely different financial realities. One group owns an asset that has increased dramatically in value. The other group is trying to enter after the cost of admission nearly doubled. So you can see the result in who is buying. Only 21% of recent buyers were first-time buyers. That's the lowest share ever recorded by the National Association of Realtors. The median first-time buyer is now 40 years old. Right now, there are some contradicting numbers there. I've also seen 35, but still, it's significantly higher than it used to be. Also, an all-time high. That number should really stop us for a second as to what it actually means, right? Buying your first home used to be something a lot of people worked toward in their late 20s or early 30s. Now, the typical first-time buyer is entering, let's just say around 40 years old, and a lot of them need a gift, inheritance, or family help to make the down payment. Homeownership is still creating wealth, but access to that wealth is getting narrower. Now, here's the strange part, at least what I found after reading this report. And by the way, if you need this report, just message me. I have the full Harvard report for you. Message me here or on Instagram if you're listening in on the podcast. Here's the strange part, right? Inventory is rising. Rents are cooling in a lot of markets. And home price growth has kind of stopped nationally if you've been paying attention. Normally, that sounds like affordability should be improving then, but it isn't improving enough. Home prices were up only 0.7% year over year in February 2026, and 41 of the 100 largest metro areas had price declines. And that number is increasing. So we're going to go into the 50s and 60s out of the 100 largest metro areas. And still, prices nationally are still 54% higher than they were in 2020. A small decline after a 54% increase doesn't suddenly make homes affordable. And you can't tell me, Tristan, well, foreclosures are coming. There's going to be a large amount of people that can't afford their homes. No, not really. Not in all areas. We're starting to see some starting to trickle upwards. So, yeah, Tampa and other parts of Florida, some in Texas, some in other parts that really brought in a lot of people during COVID. The challenge was all of this money was thrown into and created by the government, that inflation happened so fast that it inflated the prices of these properties. Now, the same thing is happening with rents. Apartment rents declined slightly nationwide, but they're still 29% higher than in 2020. Nearly half of renters are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. More than 12 million renter households spend over half their income on housing. Now, for renters earning under $30,000 a year, the median amount left after paying rent and utilities is just $210 a month. Think about that. $210 a month has to cover food, transportation, healthcare, clothing, emergencies, and everything else. So this isn't just a housing problem, it's a life problem. And building more homes, while necessary, doesn't automatically solve it, right? We can't simplify it into just build more homes. And Harvard found that the number of rental units priced below $1,000 a month fell by more than 7 million between 2014 and 2024. At the same time, the number of higher rent units grew rapidly. The typical newly built apartments now ask around $1,900 a month. I don't know in your area, but in my area, Ventura County, LA County, we're seeing all of these brand new apartments being built. And for the majority of them, they're all luxury apartments. And the new single family home costs more than $417,000. So yes, but much of what we're building is still too expensive for the households facing the greatest shortage. That's the part that most housing conversations miss. We don't simply have a shortage of homes, we have a shortage of homes people can actually afford. We're also seeing the lowest residential mobility rate in the history of the current survey. Only 11.2% of households moved in 2024. See, that matters because moving has always been tied to opportunity. People move from one place to another for a better job, a growing family, a safer neighborhood, better schools, or just a fresh start. When people can't move, the economy becomes less flexible. Families stay in homes that just don't fit them anymore. And young adults stay with parents longer. And we're watching that happen. We're seeing it transpire. Workers turn down opportunities because housing in the new city costs too much. So, what should we watch next? Don't only watch mortgage rates, it's good to watch those, but watch whether entry level inventory grows. Watch the share of first-time buyers. Watch insurance and property taxes. You're watching politically property taxes being in the mix between different states and politicians saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's get rid of property taxes." And you're also watching for first-time buyers, some areas in the Midwest that are becoming very affordable, that have always been affordable, and you're watching migrations happen slowly to those areas. And pay attention to whether people begin moving again. Lower mortgage rates definitely will help, but they want to erase the increase in prices, taxes, insurance, land, construction costs, and on top of that, also owning the home, right? All of the utilities involved, everything has gone up. Now, if rates fall and demand returns before affordable supply improves, buyers could simply face more competition again, which is another issue. My biggest takeaway is this after reading this, and I hope you read this. The greatest threat to housing isn't necessarily a crash. It's a ladder that fewer people can reach and fewer owners are willing to climb down from. Housing still creates wealth. I think it's going to for a while. It still gives families stability. From what I see, just it gives people stability. But if getting into a home increasingly depends on already having money, equity, or family help, then home ownership, it stops being a broad path into the middle class and becomes a benefit passed mainly from one owner to another. And that's the real warning in Harvard's report. The housing market may not be collapsing, and I don't think it is, but for millions of Americans, the door into the housing world is slowly closing. So do me a favor, get this from me. I'll send it over to you. Just ask me in the comments or in Instagram if you're listening to this. And subscribe to this channel, Your Daily Real Estate. I'm always bringing something new to you, whether it's to educate you, to make you a better real estate agent, just to understand as a consumer, or just to make you an all-around better you. Have an awesome day.